Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to today's webinar on DevOps QA. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We have taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer. Yeah, this is showing up here. In the upper right corner, if you're listening in using your computer speakers by default, that's okay. If you'd like to prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dialing information will be displayed. You'll have opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. But however, due to the time limitations, we will collect all these questions and we will surely address them during the question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. That being said, I want to jump over to a few things. I want to let you know about Techwave, and then we'll move into the presentation. Today's presenter is Ankur. He's a practice head. He leads the practice head of validation services at Techwave. He has vast amount of experience and considered a pioneer in this area. Myself, I am Raj Rintala. I'm the director of strategic marketing and process excellence at Techwave. If you're not familiar with Techwave, Techwave is a global end-to-end IT services and solutions partner. We are leading in this area, and we are primarily headquartered in Exton, Pennsylvania. We have global presence all over the world. Europe, we are expanding very, very fast. Middle East, APAC, and South Africa. We have a large global delivery center in Hyderabad. We are consistently ranked and awarded as the fastest growing companies by not only by Philadelphia Journal, but also in 500 magazine. We were featured in that. And also we are 15 ranked as 15 the IT services domain in the USA. Next slide, Ankur.
Yes, Raj, 1 second.
Okay. And I would like to go ahead and introduce you to Ankur Srivastava. I'm going to give a presentation to him. Ankur, go ahead and introduce, and then we'll go into the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Raj. So, hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants for joining. So, before we start, little about myself. I'm Ankur Srivastava, heading validation services at Techwave. I have more than a decade-long experience in global consulting and program management, act as a technical advisor to clients and helps them realize optimal return on investment on their long-term QA initiatives. I work with marketing, strategic alliances, and partnership development teams at Techwave and creates compelling technology solutions. I have experience in defining quality strategy, planning, implementation, and spearheading quality initiatives at corporate level, and has previously worked with organizations like Microsoft, SAP Labs, and Logica CMG, and ensured client delight across geographies. So at Techwave, we invest on validation services to become best validation partner, achieve higher ROI, faster time to market with utmost quality for Techwave clients. With that, we proceed on with today's webinar, where we will discuss about the role of QA in DevOps model, covering what is DevOps, building blocks like what all capabilities require to construct a concrete DevOps environment, cultural shift. In this, we'll discuss about the changes required to set up DevOps environment at organization level. And most important topic of this webinar, what is the impact on QA because of DevOps? Evolution, how QA role gets changed from traditional to agile to DevOps, and benefits out of DevOps. And in the last, we will open up to take some questions from the participants. So, what is DevOps? The term DevOps was formed by combining development and operations, which provides a starting point for understanding exactly what people mean when they say DevOps. DevOps is not a product or even a particular technology. DevOps is a methodology that unites separate functions of software development, quality, and operations into a single integrated and continuous process. DevOps is about breaking down the barriers between dev and ops. It leverages people, process, and technology to encourage collaboration and innovation across the entire software development and release process. Development and operations team must act and feel like they are a single team. And DevOps is all about trying to work smarter and more efficiently to avoid failure. If we say it's a framework of ideas and principle designed to foster cooperation, learning, and coordination between development and operational groups. In a DevOps environment, developers and sysadmins build relationships, process, and tools that allow them to better interact and ultimately better service the customer. DevOps is also more than just software development. It's a whole new way of thinking about cooperation and coordination between the people who make the software and the people who run it. Areas like automation, monitoring, capacity planning, backup and recovery can all benefit from using a DevOps model to enhance the nature and quality of interactions between development and operation teams. So, like all cultures, DevOps has many variations on the theme. And the most important capabilities which are common to virtually all DevOps cultures are automation, continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous testing, continuous monitoring, and most important, collaboration. If we say DevOps heavily rely on automation, and that means you need tools, and that can be tools you build, tools you buy, open source tools, or might be a proprietary tools. And those tools are not just scattered around. DevOps rely on tool chains to automate large parts of the end-to-end software development and deployment process. We find continuous integration in DevOps culture because DevOps emerged from Agile, and continuous integration is a fundamental principle of the Agile approach. Continuous integration is a software engineering practice in which isolated changes are immediately tested and reported on when they are added to a larger code base. The goal of a continuous integration is to provide rapid feedback so that if a defect is introduced into the code base, it can be identified and corrected as soon as possible. Continuous delivery is nothing but taking this concept of continuous integration to the next step. Instead of ending at the door of the development, continuous integration in DevOps extends to the entire release chain, including QA and operations. The result is that individual releases are far less complex and come out much more frequently. The actual release frequency varies greatly depending on the company's legacy and goals. Other important capability is continuous testing. The testing piece of DevOps is easy to overlook until you really get ahead, while continuous integration and delivery get the maximum share of the coverage. Continuous testing is something which quietly finding its place as an equally critical piece of DevOps. Continuous testing is not just a QA function. In fact, it starts in the development environment. The days are over when developers could simply throw the code over the wall to QA. In a DevOps environment, everyone is involved in testing. Developers make sure that along with delivering error-free code, they provide test datasets. They also help test engineers configure the test environment to be as close to the production environment as possible. In the QA side, the big need is speed. After all, if the QA cycle takes days and weeks, you are right back to old traditional days. Test engineers meet the challenge of quickly turnaround by not only automating much of the test process, but also redefining test methodologies. The goal of continuous monitoring is to quickly determine when a service is unavailable, understand the underlying causes, and most importantly, apply these learnings to anticipate problems before they occur. Like testing, monitoring starts in development. The same tools that monitor the production environment can be engaged in development to catch performance problems before they hit production. Most important aspect of DevOps capabilities is collaboration. Successful DevOps requires business, development, QA, and operations team to coordinate and play significant roles at different phases of the application lifecycle. It may be difficult, even impossible, to eliminate silos, but collaboration is essential. Instead of pointing fingers at each other, development and IT operations should work together. The need for collaboration extends to everyone with a stake in the delivery of software, and it should be between all the teams, including dev, test, ops, product management, and executives. After knowing the capabilities required to build DevOps, next question comes: what all changes required to set up DevOps environment in any organization? So the very first thing is to change our mindset. We need to end the culture of fear. The biggest barrier to implement DevOps is the fear of change. This is a common problem across sectors because trying something new can be scary, and the best approach is to start small by moving forward with a low risk pilot program. This will provide an opportunity to get development and operations team in the same room and allow them to work together towards a common goal. If we see, a DevOps culture is different and requires a shift in mentality. It also requires talented people with unique skills and experience. Since DevOps is still a relatively new concept, even from technology standards, talented people are rare and in high demand. But companies can bridge the talent gap through a targeted strategy that incorporates both recruitment and training. For any organization, the key to success is to measure your current metrics. Companies must know how efficient or inefficient existing software development processes are before beginning to change. Then probably we can take a call to go for a new change, like in this case, making DevOps work at your place. You might be implementing it for the first time or struggling to make DevOps work. You need to measure your process again and again till you achieve what you aim for. Also understand what results to expect and plan accordingly. Based on our experience, deployment should be 8 to 10 times faster with 50% uplift in quality, while software builds should be 3 to 4 times quicker. Now, after seeing a lot of changes in the way SDLC is handled using various delivery models, the important question comes to our mind. What will be the impact on QA because of DevOps? Will the QA be no longer required or their work gets minimized? So the answer is no. DevOps is not going to replace QA as a discipline. In fact, the role of QA gets broadened with added responsibility. It demands for smart testers and will help better product quality with excellent testing. DevOps mantra is fail fast, fail often, driven by test first, which means that the QA is involved from the beginning of software development cycle and will drive the quality along with the developer and operations team. Test-driven development will be seen more often and will be considered as best practice for the DevOps cycle. The focus will be more on continuous improvement in test process and quality deliverables via several iterations. Intelligent test automation, improved regression, continuous test augmentation are the new areas where QA community needs to focus on. DevOps requires new ways to test software, which challenges test engineers to come up with new innovative ideas to test. In fact, test engineers can provision a test environment that is virtually identical to the production environment, resulting in more accurate testing and better ability to predict the performance of new releases. And largely, productivity of test engineers with other groups increases thanks to automation and collaboration. If we just go a step back and see the evolution happen in the role of QA from traditional to agile to DevOps, this will provide a clearer understanding on how QA role got changed over a period. Traditionally, if we see, there used to be a delay and quality issues in overall test process. And the primary reasons were that test team gets involved late in the development cycle, test scripts gets prepared using design and technical documents. In most of the cases, test team receives the requirement from analyst or from developers. Unavailability of requirement traceability metrics and master test plan. Test scripts covers mostly positive scenarios and negative scenarios were overlooked. Test scripts are not detailed enough. And in some cases, regression suite is not getting updated and we always ends up in testing same scenarios. Time provided for test execution is not sufficient, hence more risk. Test script reviews are not effective. And most important, the focus was on build. We were busy in testing what development team has developed. So, need of an hour was how to reduce the overall delay and improve the quality of deliverables. And these issues got well covered in Agile model. Compared to traditional development cycle, in Agile, test and development collaborated well and work hand in hand from the start. In Agile, more testing is covered as part of development, and thus we say we have moved quality upstream to catch as many defects as possible in early stage of the cycle. Also, the focus was to get continuous feedback from the business and incorporate these feedbacks early in the development cycle. The biggest disadvantage seen in this methodology, or I would say the gap, is that this methodology gets implemented during the development phase, causing creation of backlogs for operation teams. Sometimes operations might have few builds to deploy, or sometimes they will have more builds to deploy at the same time, and that results pressure on both dev and ops team. Chances of mistakes by ops team gets increased during deployment, whereas development team push hard to complete the given task, which results in faulty code in terms of incomplete code review, quality of code, and insufficient unit testing. And in the end, customers never actually received the value they demanded. So this trend ultimately gave rise to DevOps, a new age version of Agile methodology, covering the dev and ops segment to enable service delivery in terms of agility and quality. Coming to DevOps, continuous everything is the theme, where along with continuous planning, continuous designing, continuous integration, continuous test, the focus is also on continuous deployment in staging. And this helps to achieve matured DevOps model where deployment in the production can be done efficiently. And this leads to smooth delivery, faster time to market with utmost quality. Although Agile and DevOps share similar goals, the DevOps approach encourages dev and ops to synchronize fast-paced agile development of production-ready code, where ops helped us in deployment and managed to prevent backlogs. The aim of the DevOps approach is to address the disconnect between dev, QA, and ops team by extending team interaction and service delivery across the value chain, and incorporating end user feedback in future DevOps process to improve service and product quality. In other words, DevOps stress on effective collaboration and communication between the three departments within a culture that enables optimized release cycles of high quality and thoroughly tested end products. This cultural shift commands strong leadership to address the challenges associated with thorough transformation from waterfall to agile and ultimately to DevOps. Implementing DevOps in large enterprises is particularly challenging considering their fear and resistance to change because of silos departments, lack of communication, unaligned and misunderstood job roles, and a reluctant buy-in from senior leadership to transform into a new operating model. If we see this highlighted activities, continuous integration, continuous test, and continuous deploy are the main activities which takes place in development and test phase, and this constitute the main functionality of DevOps. If we do a quick comparison of various activities with respect to different delivery models, that is waterfall, agile, and DevOps, this is how the set of activities look like. In waterfall, development and unit test is happening in development phase. Testing is happening in test phase, and staging and production is taking place in operation phase. Whereas in agile, development is happening in development phase, unit test and testing is tightly coupled and getting done in development and test phase, and staging and production is taking place in operation phase. Whereas in DevOps, development, unit test, testing, and staging is tightly integrated in development and test phase, and rightly holding the mantra of DevOps, which is continuous everything. So if you see, the role of QA is getting broadened, and even they are facilitating automated deployment, automated build and configuration management, data refresh and maintenance, and test first centric test driven development. So let's see overall what we achieve after adopting DevOps or following DevOps model. Move quality upstream or shift left testing has now become a reality with fail first, fail fast, fail often philosophy. Early defect identification will lead to lean delivery framework with increased product and service quality. Continuous delivery will enable streamlined governance and will reduce time to market and make end-to-end delivery more efficient. And this can also be achieved through increased focus on automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and with developing more continuous testing smart automation frameworks. One of the key benefits is cost reduction, and this can be achieved by automation to handle reduction in manual error and duplicate testing effort. So with this, my session comes to an end, and I am ready to take some questions Over to you, Raj.
Thank you, Ankur. We are now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. I have a lot of questions that came in through the chat window. I would appreciate if you guys have any more, please do send me so that I can compile them together. I have about 6 or 7 questions, Ankur. I'll go through it.
Okay.
And then,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you have any questions, guys, please type into the chat window so that that's easy for us to come back. So that if there are any repeated questions, I can do it. So the first question is, what is the real value of DevOps? Is what one asks.
Okay, so if we see, Agile covers basic principle of DevOps. Now, in addition to this, DevOps focus is more customer oriented, and this is achieved by providing fast-paced deliveries using continuous testing, deployment, and releases. So these are the real values of DevOps.
And any case studies that Techwave has that on the DevOps adoption is what somebody wants to know.
Yes, we have successfully implemented DevOps model for our multiple clients based out in various regions across globe, and we have helped them to reduce the time to market by around 30%, and there was an increase in automation percentage. We improved the code quality, and this helped us to increase the overall DRE, which is defect removal efficiency, from 72 to 97%. So this improves the overall quality of our product.
And the other question, Ankur, is any scripting language or technology is used for DevOps?
Okay, so other than widely used languages, like if we talk about Java, C or C Sharp, so which are basically used for software development, scripting languages such as Perl, PowerShell, VBScript, etc. are actually used to automate deployment process along with continuous integration tools. And these integration tools can be Jenkins, Visual Studio.
Ankur, you there?
Yes, Raj. Done.
Okay. Okay. So what is the major difference between testing in Agile and in DevOps? I think it means this. What is the difference between Agile and DevOps? Someone asked.
Okay. So if we see in testing in Agile, we have to follow test as early and we need to test as often as possible. Whereas in DevOps, we need to test continuously. In Agile, automate testing as much as possible. Whereas in DevOps, we need to automate almost everything. In Agile, continuous integration and testing is a step forward. Whereas in DevOps, continuous integration and testing is a mandatory activity. In Agile, the potentially shippable code we get at the end of the sprint, whereas in DevOps, we get the shippable code following every integration. So these are some of the basic differences between testing in Agile and in DevOps.
Ankur, one last question. I see that some of them have raised their hand. Can you please type the questions in the chat window so that I can consolidate them? I would appreciate that. One last question I have is why automated testing is a must for DevOps? Can't that be done another way?
Okay, so if you see, like, the basic principle of DevOps is continuous. As I say, like, the continuous is one of the mantra of DevOps. So continuous development, continuous integration, continuous test, and continuous releases. If we are doing everything continuously, then to achieve this, we need to have an automated system in place as far as possible. So that's why the importance of automated testing becomes more critical or more important in DevOps.
Thank you, Ankur. One last question I got is, how much experience and what kind of unique solutions does Techwave has in testing? Any successful case studies, especially in DevOps? I think the same question came in before also. I think the success story on DevOps.
Yeah. So see, the basic, the fundamental approach of Techwave is to focus on the basics, like the basic approach within the Techwave remains same, or I would say the basic methodology remains the same, where we focus on move quality upstream. The idea here is to test the requirement. We just don't blindly follow test the build. Test the build is also there, but the focus is more on test the requirements. And then this consolidated, concrete approach, we can apply it in any model. It can be DevOps. We can run the same approach in DevOps, in Agile, or any traditional way. And by using the same approach in the DevOps, we have reduced the time to market for some of the products for our customers by around 30%, as I said earlier. And we have improved the code quality, and also we were able to increase the overall DRE. And the more stable and continuous releases start coming out, and the early detection and faster correction of defects, it's a real crux of DevOps.
Thank you, Ankur. I think that's all I have from the questions perspective. If I don't think any other, I'm just going to the chat window. Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Ankur, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar on DevOps QA. If you have any other questions, please contact the desired contact that's shown on the screen here. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a link to the view of recording of today's webinar within 24 to 48 hours. On behalf of Techwave and Ankur, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Thank you, Raj, and thank you all for joining the session. Thank you all. Bye.